Our story begins in late March at Shikigami Park with a male pileated woodpecker calling out. Now, you can tell this is a male because the red crest on the top of his head goes all the way to the base of the bill. Also, notice he has the red stripe on the side of his face. Kind of looks like a red mustache. Now, unlike other birds that sing a song to announce their territories, woodpeckers will drum like this guy on the side of a tree to announce their territory and also to attract a mate. Now, the next time we see our woodpecker, he is about 30 feet up at the top of a dead ash tree, and he has constructed the nesting cavity. It's primarily his job to build the nesting cavity, which can be 2 feet or so in depth, and it can take him a few weeks just to excavate this. The female will help in the later stages of nest building, but it's primarily this guy's job to do most of the work of building the nest. It's early May, and we have discovered something new is happening at the nest. There's the female bird. She's poking her head in that hole. There goes the male. They actually, at this point, are incubating eggs. After mating occurs, the female will lay 3 to 5 eggs in that nest, and both the male and female will take turns incubating the eggs, which can take 2 weeks or even a little bit more. A few weeks later, it's exciting to see the male pileated woodpecker staring out of the nesting cavity hole. At this point, there are definitely young in this nest. How many? It's hard to say, but I would venture to guess that they are a couple weeks old at this point. Now watch closely. Look what happens the next day. Yep, we have at least one baby. And here comes Mama. It is feeding time. Now you might be wondering what Mama Woodpecker is feeding to her young chick. That's a great question. Well, the pileated woodpecker has a varied diet, but its primary food source is carpenter ants. And they will eat other invertebrates, especially this time of year. So that young little nestling is getting a yummy concoction of regurgitated invertebrates. Yummy. All that dodging and weaving tells me Mama needs to get into that nest to feed another baby. Now both the male and the female woodpecker will take turns feeding the young throughout the day. And the next day we see that it is Dad's turn. To keep the nest clean and also to detract predators from finding the nest, the adults will also remove the fecal sacs, or the waste product, of the young. Here's Dad carrying a fecal sac out. Did you see it? Later that evening, it's almost time for bed, so we find the male pileated woodpecker right near the nesting cavity, and soon enough, he flies up to the hole and he disappears into the nesting cavity for the evening. A few days later, we get our first look at two baby woodpeckers. Look closely, can you see them? Here's a better look at the young woodpeckers for you. These are two young males, and I'll tell you, these little guys, they're not so little anymore. I would bet that they are a few weeks old and not far from fledging or leaving the nest. Typically, they will stay in a nest for 24 to 31 days, so I would guess that these two don't have very long. They look like they're about ready to leave the nest. Now that the birds are more than a few weeks old, feeding looks a little bit different. You can see the male feeding one of the young birds, and he'll feed him again. But then watch what happens. Feeds him, and then he flies away to a nearby tree, tempting the young bird to fly to get some more food. I don't think our young's ready to fly today, but maybe another day very soon. Less than a week later, it's early June, and our nesting cavity is empty. The young have fledged and are ready to start the next phase of their lives. Our family group will stay together until the fall. Until that time, the adult birds will continue to feed the youngsters and teach them how to find their own food. Here we have our adult male seen at the top of the screen, showing Junior how to catch carpenter ants in a decaying log on the forest floor. They have a long, sticky, barbed tongue, which helps them reach the ants deep inside of the decaying wood. Now, around September or so, unfortunately, our family group will break up, and this little guy and his brother will have to find territories of their own. Isn't nature groovy? We'll see you next time.